Hi everyone, and welcome to the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce. We're pleased to bring you the Bowie Business Journal, where we showcase its members and their services. Today our guest is Jared Wilson. He's the founder of the Black Gentleman's Guide. Welcome, Jared.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
I have your card, and I got to tell you, this is an awesome card.
Thank you.
You all zoom in on this a little bit? It's intriguing. So I wanted to talk to you about it. First of all, it's the Black Gentleman's Guide, and what is the Black Gentleman's Guide?
Yeah, it's a great question to lead off. So Black Gentleman's Guide is actually promoting the rise of black men through empowerment. So of course, while we don't just focus on black men, the purpose of it is to really empower individuals to be the best version of themselves and really give people not just the tools and resources or tell them that they exist, but really show them how they can apply different tools and resources to their life. The easiest way I can explain too is, when you look at parents and with their kids, they always say, let me tell you what to do, let me tell you what to do this, do that. But they don't necessarily take the time to show individuals. And so you're actually surprised how many people grow up not knowing. So one of the sayings that I say is, when you know better, you do better.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Exactly.
At what ages do you start with?
So we go all the way down to middle school and then working our way up. I like to believe that everyone should be an evergreen learner. So there should never be a time in your life where you feel you've learned it all.
Okay.
You can always be improving individually. But of course, from a content standpoint and what we provide, we do target depending if you're middle school to high school, college, and then young adults and up.
I especially am interested in the middle school because I feel we lose our children in middle school.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens. They're great students in elementary school, then they get into middle school and whoa.
Well, yeah.
And then we start pulling them back at high school. But for parents who are raising teenagers and all, they really need to know that by the time they're finished with college, you get them back again, and they're great kids and wonderful adults. But there's that period of time we really lose them, and if we don't get them back, they are really gone. Probably
absolutely. It starts early. You're absolutely right. It starts early, and it really comes down to that foundation. If you don't have a firm foundation, then as you continue to rise, you always continue to have missteps. And I think far too often, we rely 100% on the school system to teach everyone what they're supposed to know. But education and learning is all around. It takes a village to raise a child, and that doesn't come to just your parents or your teachers, but who you surround yourself with, your friends, grandparents, all of the above. One of the things that we focus on when it comes to our youth specifically is looking, as I said, mentioning about teaching them the right way. So, from as little as when it comes to development from education or actually, better yet, let me phrase it this way. We actually have 7 pillars that we focus on.
Okay.
And so I probably should have led with that. That's probably a better way to say it. So Black Gentleman's Guide focuses on 7 pillars. And I believe these 7 pillars can apply to any individual, regardless of your age. So we start with spirituality, and then we look at empowerment. So what I spoke about earlier, showing people how to be better. Then we go into business and branding yourself so individuals can see through how they dress and how they act and conduct themselves, how they can actually be their own business. We look at fashion, health and wellness, relationships, and finance. Wow. So it's a lot of information, but we do believe there's certain specific areas or pillars, as we would call it, that relate specifically to individuals.
Well, I do want to talk to you about each one, because first you started about spirituality.
Yes.
How do you handle children who are raised in a home that is atheist or totally, totally without any form of religion?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And when it comes to religion, this is why I say the word spirituality. Because I try to be cognizant of the fact that not everybody celebrates the same religion or adopts to one religion. But the one thing that I do believe is that there is a faith that every individual needs to have, whether it's in themselves or that they can see, where they need to be able to learn at an early age that there are a mindset or a shift within themselves individually that they can go on and do better things that they may not even see. One of the sayings I have is walk by faith, not by sight. And regardless if you're a Christian or Muslim or Buddhist and so forth, there's different similarities that we try to pick up on, and not necessarily that we want to teach someone my religion or one individual's religion, but more so teach them that you can have a faith and a belief in yourself to know that regardless of what happens in this world, that you're going to come out on top and succeed. And so really, if you have that belief inside, when things around you are shattering down, you always have something to hold on to that's going to help build you back up.
It's a little easier, though, if you have someone who has some religious background of any kind. I mean, it doesn't matter what your religion is, so long as you believe there's a higher power, somebody who's taking control of your life. I had a client come in the other day to tell me he was 5 hours caught in a riptide. And if it wasn't for his belief, and he's not a church goer or anything, but he does believe there is someone who is controlling his life. And he said he just had to let himself go with it, and took 5 hours, and he was in Cuba.
Wow.
So the story was amazing, but he was rescued, and he did get home, and he is alive to tell the story.
Amazing.
But I like to hear that he knew he felt something in control of him, keeping him calm, because if he wasn't calm,
and
he
you're
would
right.
not.
You see that and come across situations in their own life, but probably don't know what it is. And so, what we try to use is our platform to be able to speak about that and really foster those conversations that aren't necessarily being had.
Yeah. Now, I guess what I want to ask is, how close is this to cotillion?
So that's a great question. I wouldn't say, there's a lot of organizations, nonprofits that exist that do similar things in terms of empowerment. And I think every organization has its own purpose. The way that I came up with Black Gentlemen's Guide is through my own experience. Growing up as a black male, when you look on media, you do not have to go far, unfortunately, to see a negative representation of who you are, what you have to offer, what you're about. And we grow up, if you ask the majority of black kids, what do they want to be when they grow up? They will say an athlete, musician, I want to be an actor. And it doesn't mean that doctors and pharmacists and surgeons don't exist and lawyers don't exist and aren't doing well, but it's not shown in media the same way that we see in other races. So for me, it was a situation that I want to be able to create a platform for other individuals to realize that when they not just look at myself, but look around, that there are plenty of men who are doing very well in life, who are successful, that are in all these different fields that they probably didn't even know or have exposure to. So that's what really started the idea. Now, compared to Cotillion, there's similar things, I think, from a learning that you can grow from it. For us, what we try to focus on is not necessarily that you have to come in and we're going to just set a platform, but allow you to really pick which pillar really applies to you and know that you can count on us for that support and those resources to grow.
I think Cotillion also teaches you manners.
Correct.
Of table manners and niceties and holding the door. I know some women don't like the door held for them because they feel, but I like the door held for me.
Absolutely.
And maybe I'm old school, but I do like the door held for me. And these things it's nice to teach.
No, you're absolutely
our
right.
youth that.
I mean, I think you're right. It's a matter of course, we focus on relationships. And when I say relationships, it's not just of the opposite sex, even though that's a big part of it, but even recognizing that your fellow person next to you is not a competitor, but someone you can collaborate with.
Right.
So we try to look at different angles and, of course, bring a holistic approach to everyone.
Do you teach them anything about phones and relationships with phones? Because that, I think, is probably where we start to lose the kids, because they get a phone so young.
They do get phones. I remember I didn't get mine till high school, and I know my little cousins had theirs in middle school. So you're right, it's a change. And we do look at that. What we try to do is create and foster the conversation so that way it's being had in a way that it hasn't been before. Now, of course, to get and attract our youth, let alone anyone, we do have to have our platforms on social media. Right. But there's conversations that take place in all accounts.
Because they don't see how what they say affects another person. And I'll tell you what I found out the other day, and it really was jaw-dropping, about the kids and dating, what they consider a date. First of all, when somebody said to me, I'm dating, I thought, aren't you awfully young? you know, I have a date Saturday or Friday or Thursday.
Yeah.
And what they do is they have these chat rooms. And so if you're going on a date, that means if they say, I want you there on the phone between 8 and 10, and they just text each other back and forth.
Yeah.
And what worries me about that is, first of all, you don't know if that person is an adult or a 14-year-old.
It's very true.
And I think that's what leads then to the sexting pictures. Oh, send me a picture of what you look like. Oh, I'd like a different kind, you know. So do you try to teach them, I don't know, what kind of trouble they could get into like
all of
that?
the above. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of threats that are out there in this world that people aren't aware of, and it's easy to be naive at a younger age and fall into traps and believe that this is what I'm supposed to do. So yeah, we have conversations about all of the above, whether it's about being safe and staying safe, to, you know, what is the proper way of etiquette, and what you mentioned in terms of holding doors, pulling out chairs. Yes, please, thank you. All of the above we will look to foster. And it's not something you'll be surprised. You know, we want to start at the foundational level, but a lot of times we also have those conversations on the adult level, because it doesn't change in certain aspects. So
you don't have it as a child, you're not going to have it as an adult, and you need to learn it.
Absolutely. So we really look to cover all our bases there.
Wow. So now what was step 2?
So the second one was on empowerment, and that's really, as I like to call it, empowerment media. So we use social media. We're actually in the works of producing a couple shows that we're putting together too, which will put a different spin on fostering that conversation and those dialogues. And even through our social media platform, which is on Instagram, Facebook, what we do is put out different tips and tricks and tools and resources for individuals, depending on which pillar they're interested in, that they can apply to their lives right then and there, depending on, you know, what they gravitate towards. So that's where empowerment comes into play.
Yeah, well, we need that. And step 3?
Step 3 is on branding, and as I call it, a better you. And so what I tell people is that each and every individual is their own business. You know, so you are a business, and you should treat yourself as one. Because when you look at a business, you're really analyzing yourself, and you're looking at what's going well, what's not, and you're actively working to always improve. And far too often, people will carry themselves in a way, and especially in the social media age, they carry themselves and they post this picture, that picture, they post themselves saying different things, and they don't realize that that's going to affect them. I mean, we see it right now all on TV about, oh, so-and-so said this 10 years ago, and now it's resurfaced. So realizing that if I can carry and conduct myself as a brand, I'm a living, breathing resume, I'm a living, breathing brand, and if I can conduct myself in the right way, I'm always going to set myself up for success. So we look at branding, and of course, we work with other small businesses, so if they're looking for additional support on how they can grow, then we will work with them as well. And
there's nothing wrong with branding yourself as a mannerly, well-groomed person. And that's one of the things some of the kids have to learn is grooming.
Yes. So that's where that next one comes on. Exactly. So that's where fashion comes in. And so fashion is actually the 4th pillar that we focus on. And it's exactly for that reason. Far too often, you know, you're not required, especially in today's day, once again, people aren't really required to wear suits. I remember I went to Howard University for undergrad, and I was in the School of Business, so very proud of that. And I remember once a week you had to dress up in your suit to go to class. And, you know, it seemed silly at the day, and they would call us the coat school at Howard's campus. But I realized after I graduated and took on my first job and showed up in a suit, how many other people did not? And you know, what they taught me there in terms of how to introduce myself, how to stand tall, as I like to say, how to, you know, not even perform, but carry myself, it carried a lot of weight. Well, that's what sets you aside apart from the other people. Exactly. And that's what you have to teach the kids. What sets you apart from other people? Yeah. And that's a hard thing to go within yourself and look and see what would set you. But the suit and tie is what our mayor likes to always say. He says, you can tell the business students at Bowie University because they're the ones wearing the suits and ties. It matters. So, and it does matter. If you're going for a job and you're dressed like that, and someone else is dressed very casually, and the resumes are the same, you're going to pick the one who's very pleasing. Absolutely. More professional. So, I tell people, and it's something I'm giving a secret, but because we're doing a video on it later, But I tell people the story of the power of a suit. And
Yeah.
my first job, I remember, it was like my sophomore year, I think in sophomore, junior in high school, and I didn't have a summer job. Everybody around me was getting internships, summer jobs, and my dad kept asking me, well, Jared, what are you going to do for the summer? You don't have a job, what are you going to do? And I kept saying, oh, I'll figure it out, and I had no clue what I was going to do. I applied to a couple places, didn't get interviews, and I remember I said, Dad, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put on my suit. I went over to our local Bowie Town Center, the mall, and I put on my suit with my resume, and I said, I'm going to go door to door to every business on the strip and introduce myself and see, can I just file for an interview or speak with a manager and so forth. The very first store I walked in with my suit, introduced myself, gave him my resume, and he hired me on the spot. And so I tell people, I said, well, I didn't do an interview. He said, any person who walks in here with a suit on and with their resume the way that you just did is someone that I want to work with and hire. And that's how I got really like my first job.
Actually, that's what they tell you. If you're doing that, you need to be dressed as if you were going to be interviewed on the spot.
Yeah.
I teach resume writing and interview skills to the high school kids. And the story I always tell them about this dressing properly, there was a young girl who came into my office, and I got to tell you, she was as cute as a button. She was about 20 years old. Every hair on her head was in place. She was dressed really cute for a party, for visiting with her friends, but she was impeccable. I mean, she was her outfit was cute, but she had a navel ring, and she had a little piercing here, and how would I know she had a navel piercing? Because everything was exposed. Perfect for a little day with her friends or something. But anyhow, I didn't have any openings. But I said to her, come on in and talk to me, and I'll see what you're all about, and maybe I can pass your resume around. And she was a smart young lady. So I kept her resume, and then she left. And for 2 weeks, I was kicking myself in the butt. Why didn't I tell her why nobody was calling her in for an interview? So I called her, and I said, how's the job search going? And she said, well, nobody's calling me in. I said, you may hang up on me, but I'm going to tell you what I should have told you while we were sitting face to face. And I told her, I said, you can't wear sandals. You need to wear shoes that close your toes. You need to cover your midriff section, and you need to take your piercings out. Because, you know, it's the older people that's going to be interviewing you. And I don't want somebody who's so cute, that kind of a distraction in my office. I want you to look professional, because it's a professional office. She appreciated what I told her. And, you know, she called me back a week and a half later, and she said, I have a job.
There we go.
She's because I did what you did. I changed the way. And so all it was saying, look at me. I'm smart. And you need to come in and talk to me. But if you're dressing like you don't care, then they don't care.
Exactly. And you're right. And it's one of those things, too, where while I conduct interviews myself, I realized that I got to a point where I realized people really don't know. And it kind of validated, not kind of, it validates why I'm trying to do this. Because I find time and time again situations where I would assume somebody should know something or know how to do something. And I realized, you were never taught, or no one took the time to have these conversations with you. Why not me? Why not allow my platform to be a way for you to learn those?
Someone needs to get to the children, because they are not learning it at home. They are not learning it in school. I think we did 4.
We're on 4. Fifth pillar.
We're on 5.
Health and wellness. And so that's a big part, especially in the African American community, where, you know, as men, you are taught to grow up, be a man, you know, never show emotions or fear, or really even the proper way to express yourself or your emotions. And so I think that's far too often, you know, when we express the emotions, that's why people will say, oh, it's anger, or he's angry, he's so forth. And it's because you're not really given the outlet, because you believe and you're taught from an early age, this is how I'm supposed to be. And so we spend a great deal on health and wellness, so that way men recognize how, one, to take care of themselves internally. And so I mean mentally, spiritually, things of that nature. Because I believe that if you take care of yourself from within, and you're working to be the best version of yourself internally, then that's going to exude 10 times more externally to everyone else. So when you have your mind in the right place of learning how to deal with stress or disorders, if you learn internally how to, and working with people, how to express yourself in a proper manner and communicate and convey how you feel about something, you're going to feel better internally. And that's going to then show outwardly to other people.
Because boys are told from a very early age, suck it up, be a man.
Yep.
And so how can you be compassionate and understanding of other people if you don't know how to handle it yourself, if you always have to suck it up? So,
you're absolutely right.
yeah, that's really great. And so that was 5.
Yep. So number 6, we're moving right along, relationships. So that's what we spoke about a little bit.
That's the big one, yeah.
So relationships, and it's not, as I mentioned, it's not just relationships between you and someone of the opposite sex, or a girlfriend, a wife, a fiance. It's also relationships with your best friends, you know, because situations happen and relationships matter. One of the sayings I lean too heavy is always, you know, you can go faster alone, but you go further together. And so really teaching people the strength of relationships, even in a work setting, to realize how you can collaborate with individuals and grow together, as opposed to always doing things with a singular mindset.
Yeah, so you're trying to teach them that all relations are not sexual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually
Which even opens up another one. How do you handle that with the young kids? Because everybody has to say, try it, you know, and kids are younger and younger, getting pregnant younger and younger, and experimenting younger and younger.
That's very true.
How do you try to teach that to them?
So, you know, of course you have to be sensitive in today's day and age, of course, of parents and so forth. What approach I always say is, you know, we do not shy away from having tough conversations. Right. I feel one thing that, you know, as men, and I say this, and I'm always on the record of saying this, is as men, the key word is accountability, and not recognizing what accountability stands for and what that looks like. I think it's very easy for anyone at any age to realize that, oh, I don't like something, or I got myself in a situation, run away. But learning that what it means to be a real man is not let me run away from my problems, but stand up to them and work and recognize, you know, you might have noticed I have an I promise bracelet.
Yes, I was going to ask you about
I
that,
tell people I always wear different things because they have mementos to them. But the I promise bracelet, for example, has the 3 promises I always tell myself. 1, to stay true to myself. 2, to always be never settle for anything less than the best. And then the 3rd one, which is always be better than my past. And I tell people that one specifically as the last one because in life we're human. People are always going to make mistakes. You're going to, you know, do something you regret. But if you can learn to be accountable for your actions, look yourself in the mirror and take an honest look and say, what can I do to be better than this so I never go back that way? Then you're going to always go in the right direction. Right. And I think far too often it's, you know, when you get into a situation, especially dealing with that, they don't recognize the impact, whether it's STDs or getting someone pregnant, and then what that impact has on their life.
Forever,
forever.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases. So for us, it's, you know, we of course can't be with you everywhere, but we want to make sure we're educating you in the way so you realize full-handedly what all goes into it. And a lot of times you're right. All you hear from one side is, oh, you got to try it, but you never hear from the other side of, oh, show of hands, who caught something, or who can't work now because of this or that, or what emotional damage or trauma took place because of your actions. So we try to have an honest conversation, and that's on all levels once again.
Well, it is.
It doesn't get any easier when you get older. So.
It's tough when your body is ready, but your mind is still a baby and not emotionally mature enough to handle this. And kids, it's hard to explain that to them. Yeah. So when you do a class like this, do you have permission slips from parents to be able to talk this openly and honestly?
Anything with regards to the youth, you have to have permission slips. You have to, you know, go over the parameters of what the discussions are. You know, so that's something we don't shy away from, you know, that you have to go about it the right way. You know, for us, what we're working on now is there's different branches of Black Gentlemen's Guide where it's as I say, it's the umbrella, and then there's different branches, whether it's entertainment and television, whether it's education, whether it's volunteering that we go in. So with that, we're really building out a lot of those segments still too. So
Well, was that?
Last one, finance.
Oh, okay.
So number 7 is just finance, and of course that's just teaching individuals the right way to handle money. You know, so of course a lot of people are in debt, and especially when it comes to the income gaps between African American and the rest of the world. You know, there's consistently just a bigger and bigger divide. And so what we really work for is teaching individuals the right way to manage their finances, getting out of debt, learning to build wealth, and giving them those tips and tools to be financially savvy and smart.
Teaching them how to balance a checkbook,
Exactly.
I hope.
Exactly.
You know, their checks bounce because they're not realizing you wrote the check, but it's not registering in the bank statement
Absolutely.
until, so they have a tough time. You know, we're just about out of time. I cannot believe it.
I know.
But I want to ask you about this pin.
Yes. So yeah, you know, like I said, I wear different fins. So I have my fish hook here, which is actually symbolic of my grandfather.
Okay.
This is actually, you know, I had a little bit of gold on, so I went with the gold here, but it's actually also part of the logo. I'm in grad school right now with Holt International Business School, so I've been fortunate to travel between and study between the United States, London, Dubai, Shanghai, and so I've had a tremendous experience. And so certain things just, like I said, remind me of how far I've come and more importantly, how far I have to go.
Well, how would we support you as a community?
Great question, and I really appreciate that. So the first thing is, like I said, we're on social media, so Facebook, Instagram, and as well there's a YouTube channel. So if you type in Black Gentleman's Guide or on social media at Black Gentleman's Guide, all one word, you will be able to find us and support us, whether it's a follow, subscribing. Everything we're working on is, as I mentioned, is those a couple TV shows. And right now, if you go on there, there's a link where you can actually subscribe. We're always looking to collaborate. So whether you work with a school, a church, you have a young youth or somebody that you know who could use any of the pillars or be interested in any of the pillars we are teaching on, please reach out to us and we would be happy to connect, to collaborate, to come in and be able to support in any way we can. If you are a young, aspiring, or not even young, but just an aspiring actor, videographer, cinematographer, as I said, we're putting together these shows and we're looking for a lot of people to come together and show that, like I said, when you move, you know, you may go faster alone, but you go further together.
Go further together,
Exactly.
absolutely. Well,
Exactly.
I tell you, you are absolutely fascinating, and I just want to be able to support you as a community and to invite our young men, black, white, purple, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
If you want to be a gentleman and learn the niceties of life and how to get around in this world, please contact the Black Gentleman's Guide. The website, the phone number, all the contact information will be in the credits as they scroll along. I wish we had asked for an hour show. Thank you so much for coming out. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you.